What would it be like to look behind the eyes of someone who is possessed by a demon? Well, that is exactly what Sara Gran is exploring in her very short novel titled Come Closer, a novel that I've heard great things about over the years, but here I am finally giving it a chance. But does it live up to all of the hype over the past, I think it was published 20 years ago? Well, in short, it's a fantastic idea with a poor execution. So let me talk about those independently. What do I mean by fantastic idea? Well, it is told in first-person perspective, meaning we should get a very intimate POV as to what it is like to be possessed. And I would say that we kind of do, because normally when we are watching horror films or reading horror novels, let's take The Exorcist as a classic example. We're viewing it from the outside. We have no idea what this person is going through. Are they a puppet trapped in this demonic prison? Is their mind warped? Are they tricked into doing these things? Or even worse, are they a lost soul, not even in the body whatsoever, burning in hell somewhere? And that is part of the draw, that is part of the horror of what makes these kinds of films and novels so compelling. So what happens when we get deep inside the head of the protagonist? Well, the method that Sara Gran chose was that she is aware but out of control. So she knows exactly what she is doing. She is just not in control of her actions. It's one of the things I listed, so I feel like it's something that we would have expected. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think there's plenty of room of doing something that is expected and doing it very well. The key point being very well. So why did I not care for this novel so much in terms of execution? It all comes down to POV. So when I read a book, I'm always wondering why the author chose this POV. Is it third person? Is it second person? Is it first person? Is it present tense? Is it past tense? Because there should be a great reason to do so. And I would argue the first person POV should create the most intimate experience you can imagine in a story. The protagonist is telling a story after the fact if it's in past tense, which this novel is, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later, because that does imply that the narrator survived the ordeal and they are recounting their experience. But the problem, I should get to the problem. That problem is we never get very deep inside the head of the protagonist. It's a 34-year-old woman. She has a very normal life, a very normal career. She briefly mentioned she's had these kind of dreams of this woman in like a Red Sea, if I remember correctly, presumably the demon. And this demon starts manifesting in more powerful ways over time, forcing her to do very terrible things. And that's the problem. Not the problem that she's doing terrible things or forcing her to do terrible things. It's that we don't really experience it in a visceral way. There's still that narrative distance, even though we're in first-person perspective. The narrator is telling us all of the things, not necessarily showing us all of the things, meaning we never truly feel it. We never truly experience what she's going through. And that's one of the biggest draws for me, for reading in general, is that I get to experience all kinds of things through all kinds of different perspectives. And I will reiterate, you do experience these things from a telling standpoint, meaning it is explained to you, but you don't ever really feel the trauma. You don't ever really feel the pain. You don't ever really feel the disgust and the horror that the protagonist is going through. And that is why this novel completely falls short for me. There's some other kind of cheesy devices in it as well. So early on in the story, she orders a book. That book is delivered, but it's the wrong book. It's a book about being possessed by a demon. And there's a fun little quiz where you tally up a score by answering these questions to know whether the possession is mild, whether you should seek a professional, etc., etc. And as you might guess, she takes this little quiz numerous times over the course of the novel, and it escalates and escalates and escalates. So why did she mistakenly get sent this book? Was the demon toying with her? I think you could probably guess at the answer to that question, but it's never really explicitly spelled out, and that's totally okay. It just felt kind of random to me. But readers out there, if you have read this book and I missed something, please let me know down in the comments below. But that's really the short of it. So on one hand, I love the concept of taking a demon possession book and telling it from the first person perspective. However, when you're telling a story from first person perspective, you need to get deep. You need to make us feel it. You need to make us experience all of these terrible moments. That is where the true horror lies in something like this. So unfortunately, I don't get the hype for this novel. I don't get the praise for it. It's fine. Do I give it a thumbs up, a thumbs down? I'll give it somewhere in the middle. I'll say it's a very average read. It's not a terrible book by any stretch. It's a quick read. It's under 200 pages, but it didn't give me this visceral experience I wanted to have. Oh yeah, one more thing about the POV. So it's in past tense. Like I said, it implies that the narrator has survived the ordeal and they are recounting their experiences. Much like, say, an H.P. Lovecraft story where there's a guy in an insane asylum and he is telling you exactly why he went mad or what happened to him. That's more or less the exact same thing that happens here, but there wasn't really any kind of unique spin on that, right? Because sometimes, especially in a situation like this where you're literally possessed by a demon, I was hoping for some clever turn about the POV, like maybe the demon was writing it, and the whole thing really just felt like a missed opportunity, unfortunately. So I can't recommend this book, but let me know, did you read Come Closer by Sara Gran? Did I miss something? Let me know down in the comments below. And thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you in the next one.